The name's really pretty.
Yeah, and the labels are pretty too.
Have you known this wine for a while?
I first became aware of La Fiorita at Vinitaly at least 20 years ago. I've been tasting them. I've always enjoyed the wines. I've always thought they're very good. At the time I was looking to perhaps represent them in the US. But you know, they're popular, and of course everybody knows about Brunello. And
right.
So there was never an opportunity because they were already represented by very good importers in the US. So when I was there now, I went by, I reconnected with Luigi, who I've known for all these years,
Okay.
and tasted the wines. And of course, he was thinking, we just taste the wines out of courtesy because we can't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
Now I mentioned to him that one of the reasons I'm in Vinitaly now is not only to keep abreast of what's going on, Italian wines for the most part, but also I'm looking for wines that are the best of the best of genre. And I mentioned to La Fiorita that maybe I have an opportunity in Korea. And they said, well, you know, we've got something going on in Korea at the moment, but, you know, it's not working out all that well, or there's some issues, I'm not quite sure. But anyway, just we'll keep you in mind. Well, it was within a couple of days of getting back here, they said there may be an opportunity. So I jumped on that, and they sent me some samples. That's what we're going to do. And that's generally how I work. I go to Vinitaly and I look for all these great wines, and there are many more. As you know, I love Sangiovese. That means most of the great wines of Tuscany, my real favorites, which are Brunello di Montalcino, Vino Nobile di Montepulciano, and of course Chianti Classico, specifically Chianti Classico Riserva. I found some beautiful things which I can't wait to share with you with Weekly Wine. But I travel a lot. I didn't go this year because I didn't specifically have an absolute need, but I normally go every second year to Grand Jour in Burgundy, and I taste 5 days worth of Burgundy from north to south, and I pick some beautiful wines, some of which would be available in Korea. And of course, what is probably the most important wine show today, which is ProWein in Düsseldorf. Again, I didn't go this year, but now I have this need to go. I can't wait to fill my calendar up next year with these things. I am going to Bordeaux in September, mainly to look at white wine. I love Bordeaux white wine. So yeah, this is something that's very exciting, and a collaboration with you guys in complete, as I've tried to project all along, complete honesty, complete integrity, meaning I'm not just going to taste the wine and say to somebody, is the wine available in Korea? And he says yes, and then I write this glowing note that says, you have to have this wine, it's to die for. No, honestly, I've tasted the wines. I know how good they are. So today, we are going to do blind tasting of 4 wines. 3 of them are La Fiorita, 2018 Brunello, 2019 Brunello, which is supposed to be a slightly better vintage than 18, and 2018 Brunello Riserva, and their Rosso is already completely sold out. And then there is a 4th wine in here, which is another Brunello from 2017. So we will taste these wines blind, see how they rank. They've got to rank against each other. They've got to rank in terms of the overall score. They've got to rank in terms of my understanding of Brunello, to say I've tasted a lot of Brunello and they rate it right up there, or they don't. And by the way, if these wines, in my estimation, for some reason, are just not really what I want, we won't recommend any of them. Okay. We're not obliged to recommend them. It's the risk that people take when they send me samples. But I didn't ask for the samples because I thought I might reject the wine. I asked for the samples because I already tasted the wine.
Okay.
At Vinitaly.
Yeah, I'm glad we're starting with the Brunello because our subscribers know that you are in love with Brunello.
They know that I'm a Sangiovese guy. Probably one of the few misguided souls in the world that happens to believe that correctly executed Sangiovese is the best grape on the planet. It's a lot of hard work and arm wrestling with my peers to get them to understand why I believe this. But I believe that when Sangiovese is absolutely executed perfectly in a perfect vintage by the best winemakers, it has an elegance and a complexity and a subtlety and a range that the other grapes that we all love so much, Cabernet Sauvignon and the Bordeaux wines, they just wish they had that. Okay, enough of me waxing poetic. We can get on with it.
All right, bring it over, Al. So Warini is joining us for the tasting.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Oh, okay. Let's start tasting. I'm excited. 4 Brunelli in front of me. Let's do it.
All right.
I mean, I can't think of a better way to spend a lazy Sunday afternoon in Southern California than drinking fine wine, most particularly fine wine made from Sangiovese. A really nice tasting, surprising for me. The level is so good because all of them express varietal correctness, complex. All of them show off some of the better aspects of Sangiovese. Quite difficult for me to put them all together. I do have a favorite, but just by a little, which is number 1. I didn't score anything less than 90. I scored number 1, 94.
Ooh, I really like the number 3.
You like number 3?
Yeah, it was a little feminine among the 3. It has a really high accent. The fruit was there. I loved it. The tannin was pretty.
My favorite is number 3 too.
Also number 3. Okay. And why?
It has light flavor, so easy to drink for me. Bright. I loved it.
So I guess we like easy drinking Brunellos.
1 and 3 and 4 were similar in color. Number 2 was a very different wine. I found that wine number 2 for me was less, slightly less than the others. It had lots of flavor, lots of power, but it didn't quite have the subtlety and the complexity of the other 3. Let me just to give you a sense of it. I scored the first one 94, the second one 90, that one 92, that one 91. None of them got below 90 for me. Now I'm interested to see what we got here.
What the wines are? Okay,
Yeah.
I'll go reveal it. Is that
Okay.
okay? Could you go through number 1?
It was Ruby Garnet. It showed a little bit of age. Legs, so adequate alcohol. No extract. On the nose was initially a little bit shy, a little bit dusty from the way they've used the oak. Complexity was there, but it was sort of taking its time to come through. Hint of iodine, which is a very good friend of ours, fellow MW, his comment on Sangiovese. It was tight entry, but the palate revealed so much more than the nose. It was smooth, beautifully balanced, good acidity, obvious tannins, but very well resolved. Silky tannins, just a beautiful, serious wine. I thought perhaps that this wine took a little bit longer to get going than the others, but it seemed to me to have just a slight extra dimension than the others. Extra level of polish on this one.
Yeah,
All
number
right.
1 for me, the nose was muted. But
Okay.
number 3 was similar, but was bright on the nose. That's
Okay.
why I like the number 3 more.
Okay. And what about you?
Me?
Yeah.
Do they need my tasting notes?
Maybe they don't need it, but we can give it to them.
Yeah, yeah.
You're the consumer.
It has very silky tannin. It feels like yogurt.
I love the tannins on this one too.
Right.
And
So-
I like the high acid.
Okay, so let's reveal number 1, 2019.
That's
La
the
Fiorita.
2019.
Yeah,
Okay. Since that was the 2019, what it shows is that 2019 is a better year than the others, because I was debating whether it was the 18 Reserva or the 19.
Or the 19.
And I thought that there was so much it's
Going on.
better that it must be the 18 Reserva. So I'm very happy to see that it's the 19 because it's 2/3 of the price. We're all winners here.
All right, let's talk about number 2.
A beautiful, lush, plush wine. This is a Cabernet Sauvignon lover Brunello. It's a different approach. It's a more earthy approach. There's an extra supplier in here called Bonazzi, and I thought that was Bonazzi.
And you are right.
Bonazzi, 2017.
Brunello di
Brunello.
Montalcino. Number 3.
I really like number 3. It's very forward, quite fruity, very similar to number 1. It's smooth, it's round, some grip. The tannins are well resolved, not perfectly, but really well resolved. This wine displays an elegance that most wine grapes in the world could only ever dream of. And yet, there are more elegant than this out there.
This is probably the best Brunello I ever had.
Which one?
So number 3.
Oh, number 3.
Yeah, the fruit, the tannin, it's just beautiful. Number 4 just tastes very expensive to me.
They're both Reserva quality.
Right, they're both
Which is
Reserva.
what I would argue here. In terms of then, how would we decide which one is better? So let's put ourselves in the mind of the people that are making these wines. Why would you sell one as a Reserva for 40% more than the other one? It'll last longer, it's more subtle, it starts before the other one, it ends after the other one. And very often, wines like that are a little bit more difficult to drink in their relative youth than the Normale, because they're intended to age a little longer, and with that level of complexity in the bottle, in the glass, it takes a longer time to come around. If you say to me right now, which of these two wines is easier to drink, I would say the third one. It's a big toss-up for me because this one is so beautiful now, and this one is not quite as well organized right now as this one. And yet I agree with you. There's a level of something else here. It's just a tad more complex. And I think a year from now, it will be better than this one. So my tasting notes on number 3, the color of number 3 and number 1 are very similar, except that number 1 was a bit redder, which now makes sense because it's a little bit younger. No extract. It's a little bit more fruity actually than number 1, which I found interesting and somewhat less dusty, but with some sweetness. And I don't know why it's a little bit more fruity. Perhaps because the structure of the 19 is bigger than the structure of the 18, which is a warmer vintage. Slightly sweet entry, some grip, loads of complexity, very harmonious, medium length of finish, just a beautiful wine. I scored it 92. When I score wines, I score them for current drinking, for drinking right now.
Okay. Yeah, for me, clearly number 3 was the best of all. I want to drink it when I'm happy.
Yeah.
Whereas number 1, I want to drink it when I'm a little bit moody.
So the Italians have words for that.
Really?
Vino di meditazione.
What does that
Wine
mean?
for meditation. So that's your vino di meditazione.
Number 3 is La Fiorita 2018,
2018.
Brunello di Montalcino.
Okay.
So we were right.
We were right.
Yay.
So number 4 is very much like number 1. Not surprising, it's the same company. Legs, no extract. Again, that same dusty, sweetish character. The complexity was slowly going to make its way out of there. Slightly sweetish entry, very powerful Sangiovese Grosso character. Beautiful balance, obvious tannins, but very well resolved. And just an elegant, a tad more of elegance and complexity. Down the road, I think this is the best one. So now the question is, in the context of promoting wine to our viewers, it seems to me that if you plan to put wine in your cellar, the 18 is probably the best. Number 1 should be kept a little bit of time, and number 3 it's easy to drink right now.
Right.
So to sell them as a pair, with one a little bit of a Van der Gaart, and the other one to be drunk right now, I think that's probably the way to go. 3 years from now, this is going to be the most beautiful bottle. If we have customers out there that are not like me, I want to drink everything now.
Right.
I don't like laying things down. But customers out there that are prepared to hold this for minimum of 2, maybe 3, even 4 years, this will repay more than the others. Valerie, oh, you're so kind. Thank you, sweetheart. Come taste these wines. If she likes something, usually it's very good.
I like number 1.
You like
like
number
number
1?
one.
Okay. We like the number 3, and Peter liked number 1.
Number 1 was my best wine.
I guess that's what comes from living with him.
2018, 2019 La Fiorita, it's almost the same. Calcareous,
Calcareous,
red and
limestone.
gray. Yeah. Oh, limestone, red and gray clay.
Galistro, yeah.
Calestro, sandy clay soil, and it's organically made, looks like. And then they use a spurred cordon, Guyot. So they use 2 different cultivation system, date of harvest. So each vineyard is different days, looks
Yeah.
like. Type of fermentation beds, for the 2019 they use a concrete tanks, but for the 18 they use a Slovenian
oak.
So
But in
does it
all
make
probability,
difference?
that Slovenian oak was neutral oak.
Aging time, they aged 36 months in wood. For 2019, 4 months in concrete, and for 2018, 2 months in concrete before bottling, 8 months in the bottle before release. The bottle that they produce is 22,000 bottles for 2018, 32,000 bottles for 2019. So it's fairly small bottle number, isn't it? They are-
Relatively small. It's wonderful that they got more bottles in a better vintage.
For the Brunello di Montalcino Reserva, it looks like they only used grapes from one vineyard,
So that means that that's a vineyard that typically performs best for them.
right?
And so they already know that the grapes of Reserva quality come from a specific vineyard.
They also said they don't make Reserva every year.
You only make a Reserva under 3 circumstances. You make a Reserva when you were given such a fantastic vintage that it needs to stand alone, but then when you remove those grapes from the Normale, then Normale can also stand alone. So that's 2 of the reasons. The third reason is that you are not under any kind of financial pressure, so that you can afford to put a wine out there, age it for a year longer, and hold out for a higher price. Sometimes you just need to turn your grapes into money quicker, and then you don't want to be burdened with the additional regulations of the Reserva because it basically takes you an extra year to get it on the market.
All right, so the aging time was 36 months in wood, 4 months in still, 8 months in the bottle before releasing. And then the number of bottles that they produce is only 3,200. Going forward, Peter, what kind of wine or wineries are you planning on looking for?
I look for great wine. I want to pick wine that over-delivers, that has got reasonable price given the quality and something special. I really don't care if it's the world's best known producer, but generally speaking, where I consider my whole life has been leading me in the context of recommending wine is to find those gems that people haven't heard of and that for some reason or another are still underpriced or really, really fairly priced. Not so much to make a reputation for the winery, that's the winery's responsibility, but to give the seller something really to be proud of, to bring to the consumer, and to give the consumer something really special without breaking the bank.
Once they release the Brunello di Montalcino, the regular one, that will be about $75. The Reserva will be about $120, $130. Can you also look into maybe some cheaper wines for some other subscribers?
There's no question I can. This is Brunello. But generally speaking, Brunello is the most expensive or the second most expensive wine in Italy. Between Barolo and Brunello, those are the two most expensive wines in Italy. Of course, they're more expensive wines in other places. Where I think the absolutely best value for money in fine Sangiovese is to be found is from the top producers of Chianti Classico Reserva. So we'll do that next.
Well, not only Sangiovese, but many other grapes.
Oh, there are other grapes?
Yeah. Thanks for introducing this great wine to our Korean subscribers. I hope you can introduce more.
We're going to introduce so many more beautiful wines, and not just made from my favorite grape, which is Sangiovese, but even if other grapes are not absolutely my favorite, I still love so many things. I look forward to introducing people to fine Pinots, not just from Burgundy, but also the new and growing interest in fine Spätburgunder, Pinot Noir from Germany. And then there's the great wines of Georgia that are made in clay amphora, and we have a...
What about South African wines?
I can introduce you guys to South African wines that will make your hair curl. So I can't wait to do that too.
Come over here and then we'll say 구독과 좋아요.
Please subscribe and like our channel.
Alright, thank you.
Buy the wine.